everyone. Good morning. Congrats to all of you for showing up on the morning of what is going to be an extremely busy trade show. So before you get to know us, I'd love to get to know all of you a little bit more. So I'm wondering if we can just have a quick show of hands. How many people here are interior designers or architects? Okay. How many people work more in the residential sector versus commercial? Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, great. How many of you would say that renovations are a big part of your project load or business at the moment? Uh-huh. Okay, that's keyed up perfectly for us. Okay, well, we're going to talk today about sustainable interior design, about how we can use sustainability as a driver for innovation in design. What we understand by the word sustainability has changed hugely over the past couple of decades. You know, way back when Metropolis started, first holding up architects and interior designers to say, you know, you need to be sustainable. We were working with, you know, the USGBC on the LEED certification and things like that. Very, very early on in the late 90s and early 2000s, the focus was so much on energy performance. So how much energy is your project using? Or the focus was, to some extent, on carbon footprint, a concept that we didn't even understand very well at the time, I think. You know, so it really had to do with like physical objects. And I think where we've come to with sustainability is that it's really about how you lead your life and what impact it has on your health, on your well-being, on the well-being of your clients, of their loved ones, and so on and so forth. So we really have to understand that sustainability at the end of it is not an issue of how much wood are you using or, you know, what your electricity bill is. It's really about much more whether you're leading a healthy life and you're contributing towards a positive future for the planet. So, you know, we have a much more well-rounded understanding of sustainability today. And I think that is the perspective that all our wonderful panelists today here come from. So I'm going to start off with my immediate right. We have Susan Ingalls here, who is the Executive Director of the Sustainable Furnishings Council, headquartered in North Carolina, but with activities all around the world. And the council really aims to educate and inform people about sustainable decisions, specifically when it comes to interior furnishings. So we'll have Susan talk a little bit more about that. We have Marla Esser-Close here, who is the founder of Green Home Coach. And she has spent her life and her career telling people what are some of the basic strategies you can use to make your home and your life more sustainable. And I think we're really glad to have Marla here to give us that, you know, what is that gateway? What is that first few things that we can do, really? What are the simple things we can do to really change the way we design and the lives of the people we design for? And then here we have Steve Feldman, who is CEO of Renovation Angel, which aims to really mainstream the act of reclaiming and renovating in a sustainable manner, trying to create systems so that materials that would normally go into, you know, a demolition dump or would be, you know, trying to find a new home for them, that they really enter back into the material stream and are used in a responsible way. So really, you know, on a much bigger systems level. So we're very happy to have Steve here with us today.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, Marla, if you can kick us off. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do, and tell us also, you know, what are some strategies that you found useful in working with clients who are trying to incorporate sustainable practice in their work for the first time?
Thank you, Avi. Can everyone hear me back there? Okay, good. So as the Green Home Coach, I chose this name intentionally because I wanted to help people be better at what they were doing. I didn't want to do it for you. I wanted to teach, and I really wanted to coach. And what we've discovered over the past, oh my gosh, 7 to 10 years is that we all want what green homes give us, or sustainable homes. And by the way, you'll hear both words used. You also hear high performance homes. But this is a home that is really more optimized to perform for you or for your clients. So think about a life where your home works for you rather than you working for your home. And I don't know about you, but I really like that idea. I haven't gotten 100% there yet, but I'm working on it. But that means taking all the choices that we make in our homes into deliberate consideration that's going to align with our values. So for instance, if I want a hassle-free life, then I'm going to want to choose materials that are durable, they're going to last a long time, and that are lower maintenance. If I have health issues, and I may want to emphasize materials that have fewer or no toxins, or that are all natural and all organic. So having that priority as a way to start helps you to avoid boiling the ocean. Because I find so many of us, we're like, what do I do? There's 16 ways to do this and 19 to do that. And choosing one that aligns with your values and or the values of your clients. And what you're going to find as you're working with people is if you state your values and what's important to you to distinguish yourself, you're going to attract clients that want that same thing. So a lot of times it's really just putting it out there and talking about it and starting with it and leading by example. Some of the very simplest things we can do in our homes starts with one light bulb. One light bulb. Replace it with an LED light bulb. And that's one of the first places I tell everybody to start. Even if that light bulb costs you a little bit more, it's going to pay you back. It's going to give you better quality light, and it's recyclable and healthier for you and your family and your clients. So there's your starting point.
That's a good starting point.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we often miss out, that there are some very simple key things that we can do either as homeowners or as designers in order to kind of really transform the performance of our homes. I don't know if all of you are also paying attention. I know if you're looking at us, but there's also some factoids on the screen there, and I just saw a really shocking one pop up that Americans annually throw away 9.7 tons of furnishings. So that seems to be a good cue for Susan.
It's true.
Tell us, Susan, what can we as designers do about bringing that number down?
Well, the first thing we can do to bring the number down is to commit to not throwing it away. There is, in fact, no away. So you're making a choice when you dispose of a piece of furniture or a carpet or kitchen cabinets. You're making a choice about where it goes. And in the case of furnishings, there is in every community somewhere where you could donate it, where it could be upcycled. In many cases, components could be recycled. And a lot of what we at Sustainable Furnishings Council do is provide information about what's available to you in your community and about what the choices should be. So I hope you'll make use of the resources section on our website, make use of the little brochure that I scattered around the audience area, and just be mindful of the fact that there is no away. So when we discard something, we have some responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is that on the one hand, but on the other hand, we also have a responsibility as designers to our clients to keep them current, to keep them, to give them the best that is available today. I think, so when we are going into a home renovation or a project, and of course they're sitting with like really horrible 1980s decor, and all you want to do is rip that damn thing out. At that point, how do you stop and pause? How do you put the brake on that, demo day adrenaline and kind of think about the materials and furnishings in the space?
You're exactly right. And this, not only do we want these consumers to have lovely, new, updated, fashionable homes, but we want this industry to thrive. And that does involve selling more stuff. But know that whatever you are replacing, that object could be feedstock itself. And it can be quite complicated. It can be quite complicated because so many of the materials we use in the furnishings industry are not simple materials. It is a best practice for sustainability to choose simpler materials, but that 1980s home did not have a lot of simple materials in it. And a lot of those materials did include harmful chemical inputs. And some of those harmful chemicals might still be there. So you do want to be conscientious about how you are disposing of the stuff. And you want to be conscientious about how you're replacing it. Yeah. So I don't want to tell you you have to quit your business and no longer do renovations. Do renovations, but do improvements.
Steve, that seems like your cue. How can we build a business case for responsible renovation?
Thank you very much. I'm Steve Feldman, the founder and CEO of Renovation Angel, and I'd like a show of hands. How many designers have ever thrown out a nice kitchen for your clients? Raise your hands. Okay. We hear this all the time, and they're really, at the beginning of every process, we ask everyone in this room at KBIS and IBIS to ask this question: what is the existing kitchen like? Because when your clients come to you through your websites, through your showrooms, they call you, that should be part of the initial conversation, because that starts the thought process. We are the industry leaders. Your clients look to you as the influencers for the new. And what we found, because we started this in Greenwich 18 years ago, is, think about it. When you get a new automobile, you trade in that automobile, you get value for that car. And people buy a mansion and a state home, a luxury apartment, and that kitchen's just not to their taste. And it's obviously good for the kitchen and interior design economy that they're going to replace it. But you can offer them that option, and by starting the conversation. And then what we do at Renovation Angel is we look at every project and we say, here is what your client is going to save. And then it becomes a sales resource for the designers to say, I can save you $10,000 to $50,000 on your project because you're responsibly renovating it through our process, which is free white glove removal and a significant tax savings.
Can you give us because 10 to 50,000 sounds like a lot. Can you give us a sense of what kinds of materials you are actually able to, responsibly sort of reuse or bring back into the stream? Because, I've seen people make claims of, reclaiming or renovating. They're like, I turned your old floorboards into this piece of art on the wall. That's not really the kind of reclaiming we're talking about. So
No.
Give us a sense of what the scale is.
So for our scale is we actually created an aftermarket of people who want to buy a pre-owned luxury kitchen. They're out there anyway, Craigslist, eBay. So what we offer to the client is two financial components. One is the significant tax deduction, which we also make it easy for your clients because we will find an appraiser for them who can appraise that kitchen for as little as $350. So we hand off all the information to the appraiser so they can give them their tax paperwork and their valuation. And then we do a white glove removal. We come in, we remove everything. So that's all the cabinets, all the countertops, all the appliances, the lighting, all the other things like pantries, desk areas. And if they're doing more than a kitchen, the bathrooms, additional lighting, even furniture. Because all these things are, reusable, resellable, and tax deductible.
So we have quite a range here, from you can start out switching out a light bulb all the way to, when you're renovating, you can really use a business or a service like Renovation Angel to completely change the way you think about the renovation process. That sounds amazing. Can we talk about some of the challenges in doing the things that you do? And maybe, Susan, we should start with you. You want everybody to be aware of every material that goes into their space, to use simple materials, so on and so forth. Obviously, if we could all do that, we would. So what's the challenge? What's the roadblock? And what do you say is the biggest challenge? And how do we get over that hump?
The biggest challenge is knowing what is in our very complex supply chains. Even when the material being used is a simple single material like wood, some of the facts you've seen on the screen here allude to the fact that wood is not always legally harvested from well-managed forests. And when our choices in wood products contribute to deforestation, we are contributing to the huge global climate crisis problem and not sustaining a healthy future. With the climate crisis, of course, there are lots of health problems. So that's the first challenge, is knowing about those very complex supply chains. And I've mentioned wood first, but I'm going to take the opportunity to mention that there are harmful chemical inputs to making furnishings products. There are dozens and dozens of them, but there are 5 of them that are most common in residential furnishings. And just beginning to open your eyes as to where the flame retardant chemicals are, where the volatile organic compounds are, where the antimicrobials are, where the highly fluorinated stain treatments are, and where the PVC is, those 5. Just asking questions to begin to uncover these, where these things reside is the biggest challenge, finding them.
Right. So Marla, obviously this is it's a really complex task. I just want to acknowledge that, again, if we could be doing all this, we would be. In terms of coaching people to, become more sustainable in their lives or in their design process, what are some strategies that you found most useful? Like, how do you help them? How do you help people get over, the fear of? I mean, I'm sorry, Susan just threw out a lot of big words.
Right. You don't let them talk to Susan. You don't let them be so terrified.
And that's part of my mission, because I want to empower everyone to live a better life in their home and to help all of you help your clients to live a better life. I mean, who doesn't want to do that, right? But we get in our habits and we make our choices because our lives get busy and we do the same thing. Think of your grocery store run, right? You run in the grocery store, you know exactly which things to pick up, and you buy the same thing week after week because it's easy, it's convenient, and you know what to do. And then all of a sudden somebody says, well, you should try this brand new product that's out there. Well, now you got to go read the label. You got to research it. You got to figure out how to go find it in the store and how to work it into your routine. We do the same things with our homes that we design, that we live in, that we help our clients with. We get in this pattern. So that's one of the biggest myths of green, is that it's expensive. How many of you guys think that green or sustainability has to be expensive? Okay, good, because that is a huge myth, and it doesn't have to be. But everything takes up some of our brain capital and then some of our money or our resources, right? So how you balance those two is going to be your total product. So you might have to spend more money, but less time designing and thinking. Guess what happens if you spend more time designing and thinking? You might be able to bring the cost down. And a lot of times we find the further back in the process you start thinking of these options, the more impact you can make without having to spend a lot of extra money. Because we get in the situation where we're trying to make something green and sustainable and we're slapping product on there that we probably might not really need. But this happens a lot more in renovations than it does in new builds, because renovations we have so many more parameters and so many more things that we can't change, or we have to work within those structures. And literally, it could be the structure, or it could be the structure in our head. Because just even having a preconceived plan can set a parameter. So the cleaner the sheet of paper, the more opportunity there is. But what I find with thinking about this whole basket of green homes is and I use the word green and sustainable interchangeably since my title has green in it. But a big part is, number one, helping all of you to understand what the basics are of a green home, because it impacts a lot of pieces of it. And it's where the home is, the land that it sits on, it's the resources that it uses, including energy and water, and it's health. It's our air that we breathe, because I don't know about you, but I like breathing. And then lastly, it's how does that homeowner live in that home? How do they maintain it? How do they take care of it? And when we look at it from all of those lenses, then we get an opportunity to see lots of places where we can impact change. And that's really what it's all about for us, is impacting change. But what I really get excited about doing is teaching all of you how to see these things in your own practices and your own homes, your own lives, and with your clients. And that's what really gets exciting, because then we have an army of people that are out there spreading the good news, that this is really doable and really possible. And one thing I want to leave you with is incremental green, or green as you go. You don't have to do it all at once. Every time you maintain or replace or upgrade an item in a home, can you uplift it? Can you do something a little better? So rather than painting with a regular paint, paint with a low VOC paint that doesn't stink and doesn't give you headaches, or no VOCs. When you trade out that light fixture, up-level it to an energy-efficient light fixture that has beautiful light and can be layered and do all kinds of fun things with moods and apps. But every time we make those decisions, we have a choice to make the same decision or make a new one. And there are thousands of products in, 5 halls out here, and a lot of them don't even call themselves green and sustainable, but they are. You just kind of got to look a little deeper.
I love your analogy of going to the grocery store and shopping, because in a way, specifying sustainably or changing habits to specify sustainably is like going shopping for a recipe you found in a cookbook. You know, you don't know how it's going to turn out quite yet, but you kind of have to take the leap, and you have to go out there and you have to look for those new ingredients and make the best decision you can, and that's okay, right? Steve, can you talk about, you're in this process of renovation, you've inserted yourself into that. Yes, you're taking the old kitchen away, but how do you influence better decision-making for the kitchen that's going in its place?
So by offering the client a recycling option, you're actually offering them a larger budget of which to renovate with. And that's really, really key. And we actually have designers now that are coming to us at the pitch stage and saying, tell me what my potential client's kitchen is going to be worth in project savings with the removal costs and the tax savings, and I'm going to utilize this as a way to help me to win this client. And I heard this story 3 weeks ago. It was from Maria Steprafani. It was the NKBA national president in 2015. She was with a client who already had a design deposit with another design company, and she said, we can recycle your kitchen through Renovation Angel. The client walked from the deposit, went with Maria's company. She did the kitchen. The client saved over $8,000. They were delighted, which was probably more than the deposit. But the client was very motivated. So I would like to do a game changer right now. Does anybody listening in this KBISNeXT stage have a kitchen that's going to get renovated that the client doesn't know what to do with? Are there any projects out there right now that you could be saving? Kimball, awesome. We need to talk. If you have a project, or if you have an associate that knows a project, you are going to become a hero. We know that everybody who finds out about this is so happy. And to answer your earlier question, Avi, what are the challenges? The challenge is education and awareness. The homeowner doesn't know that their kitchen has a home, because it's not a car, it doesn't have wheels, it's not a piece of furniture, it can't go somewhere, or it's not a piece of jewelry. They don't know that that kitchen, which has to be deconstructed and transported, actually has a new home. They don't know. I've had so many people in the industry, architects, interior designers, say, how do you make it work in somebody else's space? Well, we've sold actually 6,000 kitchens that are in new homes, and they get retrofitted. They're not perfect, and they're not the people who want to buy new. They're the bargain hunters. So if you know of a project, start talking to your clients about it now, start planting the seeds, you will become a hero. And we're actually launching a movement called Renovate Responsibly, where designers and architects and builders can become responsible renovators. Utilize it in your marketing, on your websites, on your social media, and get rewards for you and your clients.
Susan, this idea links to a concept that you've brought up, in the past, of the triple bottom line and the 3 Ps. Can you talk a little bit about that? What is a good framework for us to be thinking of sustainable projects? Because I think sometimes people have misconceptions of, we're going to simplify materials and that's it, or we're going to cut down on the electricity bill. But there's really a much more complex framework. Can you talk about that?
That's true. These, the triple bottom line of people, planet, profit are all interrelated. So we are very concerned with preserving the health of ecosystems on our planet, but we know it can't be done without taking care of the communities that depend upon those ecosystems, and those communities can only be taken care of when their economies are taken care of. So that's the triple bottom line. And they are all related. It does have to do with making sure that just like we have the resources we need to live good lives, making sure that future generations have those resources. And for future generations to have those resources, the ecosystems are going to have to be cared for sufficiently. And so let's just think about forests for a minute. Whereas the percentage of forests being destroyed annually is diminishing, good news, there is much, much less natural forest in the world. And so every single percentage we lose is still very, very significant. How can we not lose those forests? Well, when they are natural forests these days, they are often in very remote areas, Central Africa, deep in the Amazon jungle, very hard to get to areas. Who lives there? The communities that live there are indigenous people who are vulnerable to exploitation by the illegal logging mafia, but who can be empowered. And one of the things about responsible wood sourcing is that it involves empowering those people. And there are certifications about this. Forest Stewardship Council certification specifically is very, very smart in the way their system is implemented. But any of us can develop a robust wood sourcing policy such that we, in the extent of our decision making, are making sure that we're not contributing to deforestation. We have, of course, on our website, resources for templates for making a robust wood sourcing policy. You'll also be interested to know that we have a wood furniture scorecard where we score retailers on how robust their wood sourcing policies are. And so when you're shopping at retailers, you can refer to that tool.
Marla, are there some similar standards or certificates or numbers or factors that you urge designers or clients to look at while designing?
The simplest way to do what you say you're doing is to certify a remodel or an entire new built home. So our partner here, I'm actually from the National Association of Home Builders side rather than the NKBA side. So this is kind of an awesome opportunity for us to mix and mingle. But NAHB actually offers a green certification program that is part of the code community, but it is a voluntary certification program that works for new homes, remodeled rooms, and it works in multifamily, single family, mixed use. So it's very, very versatile. This is called the National Green Building Standard, but it is a great way to have the checklist, if you will. And what's so cool about this standard, it's very similar to LEED for homes, if you've heard of LEED from the U.S. Green Building Council. But what I love about this program the most is it's very flexible. It offers you over 1,100 practice points, and you only need 261 points to certify at the lowest level on a new build. So it gives you a huge amount of flexibility of practices that you can learn about and implement in different projects for what fits the end result. The other thing that this standard is very useful for is understanding a lot of the practices that are important to consider when we're renovating or building a home or a room. And I love the room-by-room approach because the 2 rooms in our homes that take the most resources, energy, and water are kitchen and bath. You guessed it. And we also use a ton of chemicals in our kitchen and bath. So it's a really easy place to start. And I actually do a talk that's called 5 Simple Choices, and one of the exercises we go through is find 5 simple things you can do in a kitchen and bath to up-level it, to make it a little greener, a little healthier. So it really can start that simply. And if you'll pardon the shameless plug, I actually have a book called Living Green Effortlessly, Simple Choices for a Better Home. Builder Books published it. It's in the IBS store if you get all the way over to the concourse between Central and North. But I wrote this book to give people an opportunity to understand at a very, very basic level what it means to have a green home or a greener home, one that you're greening up, and how you can get started. What are some really simple things you can do? So my work really centers around the premises that come out of that book, and a lot of them are based on this certification standard.
Absolutely. Steve, do you want to come in on any certifications or standards that you look to?
So, we're creating a new standard. Up until now, the kitchen and bath industry hasn't had a circular economy for recycling. So we've taken it on ourselves to change the kitchen and bath industry one kitchen at a time. We know that there are, and you've seen the factoids, 50,000 luxury kitchens that are going into the landfill every year. So that's a huge number. And if you want to know how that will affect the economy, we say that would create 800 million of resale. Well, that's going to create about 250 to 300 million dollars worth of jobs. They say if you throw out 10 tons of garbage, you create 1 job. If you recycle that same garbage, you create dozens of jobs. And that's what we see. So this is going to happen. If we went to Europe and had this panel, everybody would be going, this is old news. Kitchens are furniture in Europe, and people move with their kitchen. So as Americans, I understand we have geographic challenges. We have a different construction with kitchens. It's harder to do this, but hard is an opportunity, and we make it very easy for people. So we would like to see every single one of these kitchens get recycled, opportunities for your clients to get exactly what they want, to feel good. So to me, this is very, very exciting that NKBA has had us here today to talk about this.
That's fantastic. I think the one thing I'm hearing from all of you is the first thing you have to do is set a goal. And I think there's goals what we're trying to emphasize, I think, is that there's goals at every level. There's goals for everyone, and you can tailor your goal to what the size of your project is and what your capability is and what leeway you have with your client and all of those things that go into a project. You can tailor your goal to those things. But once you've set a goal, it amazes me that the NAHB standard, getting 261 out of 1,100 credits, you only have to get to 1/4 of the answers right. That's amazing. And that's a full certification from the NAHB. So I think, there's really a good entryway for almost anyone who wants to, get into sustainability. So on that note, I'm going to ask a last question of the panel, but please, any questions that you have, please have them ready. As you can tell, our panelists can speak to a wide range of experiences on this topic, and your question can be as nuts and bolts or as big concept as you'd like. No no question is, I think off limits here. So please think of that. And in the meantime, let me ask everybody on the panel, for somebody sitting here, if you had to recommend a good first step, a good course of action in terms of making their design practice more sustainable, what would it be? And anybody can start.
I'll start. I think the easiest way for everyone in this room would be to ask their clients what is in the existing space for kitchen and bath. Ask that question, get them to give you the pictures. This is also a wonderful sales first question, because how many times do people come into a showroom, they ask you some questions, and they leave? If you ask them this, you're doing two things. You're showing them that you're concerned about their ability to be green, and you're not selling anything. You're just saying, let me know what's in your current space. And if they say why, because we want to see if it can be recycled. Now you've got pictures from their home, you've got their contact information. If everybody would just start with that one question, that will lead. And then send me your pictures. We'll evaluate them. We'll let you know where to go from there.
Sorry, I have to actually get the mic up to my mouth. I think the really simplest place to start is very much along those same lines. But ask your clients, besides your home looking beautiful, what is important to you? What benefit do you expect from your home? What promise do you want your home to give you? I have a favorite saying that I think we really all want a home that looks great and performs well, but we forget about the performance. And that's what green and sustainability can really help you to distinguish you and your practice when you're talking with your clients. Is let me help you have both, because you can have your cake and eat it too.
I would say the most important first step is the knowledge you gather. The most important first step is educating yourself. And of course, I am speaking from an educational organization. We have a certificate course, we have a rich website, so we have lots of resources for you. But you want to be able to ask the kinds of questions, you want to be able to have these conversations y'all are saying to have with your clients. You also need to be able to have conversation with all your vendors, asking them about what products and materials are what's it made of, and knowing what answers you should be looking for.
Conversations with vendors about what's in their product, that just gave me a heart attack. No, but that is exactly where you need to start.
We have a brochure. It's written out, questions to ask, answers to look for. It's easier than it sounds.
No, I think, you absolutely said it right. I think all of you in some ways have also touched upon this. You need to educate yourself. You need to find resources. Talking of shameless plugs, Metropolis has been running a year-long initiative around sustainability in order to kind of wrap our heads and hands around what sustainability means today, beyond energy performance and things like that. So metropolismac.com/sustainability. It's very easy to find. We're going to have year-long we have several months of coverage already on a year-long coverage. And if you're in LA or in Seattle this fall, in October and November, we're going to be having some events there that we'd love to have you be a part of. So just keep an eye out on that. It's pretty simple to find on our website. But before we break off, I'd love to give the audience a chance to ask some questions. So does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up with the panelists? Sure.
So one of the things I'm curious about is, are any financial institutions working with you, Steve, or any of the rest of you to help incent people to do stuff? I'm thinking that, obviously the home improvement lines of credit, home equity lines of credit, are there benefits? I know you mentioned something about tax implications, but in terms of getting financing for a project, Could that be part of the conversation?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, there's a database called desireusa.org, and it's DSIRE USA.org. There's no E. What is on there is a state-by-state list of incentives, rebates, and financing options to help with green and energy-efficient renovations, upgrades, new builds. It just varies by state. A lot of times your utility companies will have rebates going for certain energy-efficient equipment. It really is the gamut. And we're starting to see more conversations about energy-efficient and green mortgages and lines of credit. But that is probably the hands-down best database I have found that is a good resource for it. It's Desire USA, and it's DSIRE USA.org. And I've got a lot of resources on my website too, or if any of you want to find me afterwards. But Green Home Coach, one of the things we really are working towards is to help get these resources out to you. I'm a for-profit business, whereas Susan's a not-for-profit. But I need to eat, so this is what I do.
Sure, I think that's a really good idea. You've given me an idea. We have a lot of verticals we work with, obviously, mainly the Kitchen and Bath Association. We work with builders, we work with architects, and I think that we should reach out ourselves to the financial world and say, let's incentivize, because this is going to be good for them. This is going to be the home equity loans, the mortgages. This is going to benefit them. So you've challenged me. I'm going to take the challenge to go get the financial world in on this.
The
Thank
Capital
you.
Markets Group is your partner there.
Exactly.
Not at all at the level that you're talking about, but the World Bank just announced last year their own certification program for sustainable projects called EDGE. And that's a signal to financial institutions all over the world. So that's a big they've really sort of put the stake in the ground, and I think other financial institutions will follow. So, there's movement.
We see it in a lot of multifamily buildings because the investors know that a green and sustainable building is a better investment. I know even on my own house, it costs less to insure it. Right. So there's a lot of financial benefits. So even if it does cost a little bit more up front, the life cycle of the project or the house is going to end up being much more favorable over the lifetime.
Right.
Anyway, there's one
We
right
have
down here, too.
one question in the back, and then we'll come to you.
Hello? Okay. Hi, so my name is Robin Fisher. I'm out of Portland, Oregon. We use deconstruction services. Question for you is, and I wrote the PRL on sustainability for the NKBA, and I teach sustainability all across the country. So my question is, how are your clients saving $50,000 on a project? Because my clients are just getting a tax deduction, which isn't very high.
So that example is where somebody buys a $20 million luxury apartment and has a $200,000 kitchen that they're ripping out, which they can take a $100,000 tax deduction for. Plus so that ends up being about $40,000 or $45,000 of tax savings. Plus you add in another $5,000 to $10,000 of removal savings, and that's how you get $50,000. That's not an everyday occurrence. That's a more rare kitchen that people throw out, but people have thrown out kitchens that will appraise for $100,000.
We have a question up front here.
So in looking at the slides like this one, it says that a lot of the wood that's processed in China is harvested illegally. Are there other countries or areas which tend to have more of an emphasis on sustainable wood selections that we should know about?
Yes. Here in North America, we are fairly responsible and law-abiding. In all countries in the world, there are environmental protection laws. So when wood is illegally harvested, it is harvested in violation of that country's environmental protection laws. And that happens a lot in places that are impoverished and where there is more corruption. If the person who works for the government who's responsible for guarding the national park is not being paid enough to resist bribes from the illegal loggers, then they're likely to, succumb and take a bribe so they can pay their children's school fee or something like that. The problem is that the country ends up losing revenue, and so it's a vicious cycle. The country for whom that park ranger would be working is not getting the revenue needed to protect the lands there. But here in North America, we are fairly law-abiding, so when you see that it's North American wood, you can feel good about it. Also in Europe, so now the thing is that much of the illegally logged wood that goes into China goes across that very porous border between Russia and China. And so there is a mixed bag there. But that wood could be coming from anywhere in the world. It's not necessarily European wood, but there are problems with illegal logging in Russia too. And World Resources Institute has an interactive map on their website where you can see what their monitoring is for different parts of the world.
We had another question here. Oh, and
This question might be too specific, but it was for Restoration Angel. We're a restoration contractor, and I'm the lead green associate for our company. But a lot of the times we are asked to demolish, remove things that are more of smoke contaminated than actual fire burn. So a lot of the times we have porous materials that we remove as a precautionary measure. So we'll rip out kitchens that are perfectly fine, minus smoke damage or other things in the home, often granite or more porous stone tops they don't want to try to save due to liability. So we're walking this line of, because we usually give it to our habitat restore. Do you run into that situation with any of the people that you work with? Because it's the embodied energy of cleaning those materials versus the chemicals that you have to use on it. So how do you balance all that, or do you run into that at all?
Yeah, we do. We look at that kitchen and we say, to what degree was there smoke or water damage? A lot of times you get a flood in a house, maybe it's only affected the toe kicks, the kitchen is 80% fine, we might reclaim that kitchen and the buyer knows that kitchen has been compromised some, but it's not like the whole thing got water damage. Smoke damage, same thing, can this kitchen be responsibly, deconstructed and reused? So we look at every project. So, if you have projects like that we can evaluate with you, we'd love to work with you.
we have another question here.
It's crazy. I'm talking. I was socializing, sorry.
Another question for Renovation Angel. So my question is, are there any geographical limits in terms of where you will go for the estimate or for the removal of them, and then also what the process looks like to get the estimate for the client?
So for us, we won't give you an estimate if it's not a job we're going to take. So right now, we are based in Fairfield, New Jersey, so we super serve the Northeast. Where are you based? New York. So New York is easy. If it's a kitchen that could be reclaimed, we're going to come and do this. Are you in the city, upstate? Albany? Okay. So Albany would be kind of like Boston, Washington. It's a few hours from us. We've gone and done projects that far away. So if you send us a project, we will say, no, we don't want it because it doesn't have enough value for us. Our cost would be too high to go reclaim it. But if we say, oh, this kitchen's going to save your client $20,000, then we're committing ourselves to that kitchen, and we'll do it. So, Love to hear from everybody. Yeah, we've been to everywhere in the country pretty much. West Coast, Florida, Texas. Nicest kitchen we got last year came out of Houston and West Palm Beach. And we're in New Jersey, so.
Sherry, you have a question?
This is a goofy question. So does the Marie Kondo effect have any like good news here? Like that whole live with the shit you love kind of thing? Does it help? I
I'll
don't
give you
know.
my take, and then everybody else on the panel can go if they want to. I think what's at the heart of Marie Kondo's method, I think, is trying to deal with consumerism and trying to deal with the fact that we often acquire more than we need. And I think part of what she's talking about, even though she doesn't talk about responsible disposal at all, you just park it out in your trash can. It's not a good thing. What she does do is ask you to acknowledge every single thing that you throw out. I don't think that her method in itself is a sustainable method, but I think the spirit behind it is to train us in sustainable ways of thinking. And I think that might be a longer term effect, hopefully. If we were to really build a relationship with every object we have in our home and to treat them with respect, then that really is at the heart of sustainable consumption. And hopefully it'll help us, build that culture. And that culture has been lost in most places in the world, I can tell you. I mean, Marie Kondo decided, if she started on Japan because, we think of Japanese as like these paragons of virtue, but she started in Japan because she found Japanese people completely, awash with stuff. I think it's a change we have to make globally. Yeah. I don't know if somebody else has a take on that.
I completely agree with you. It's about being conscious consumers. And sustainability is such a huge, wide umbrella term. There are lots and lots of things that fall under that umbrella. And each of us as individuals has our own priorities. They're the things we are most concerned about or the most interested in. And when we're more conscientious consumers, we keep that in mind in the acquisition and the disposal of each object.
I think it can even be more basic than that. One of the very basic things we're taught, even as kids, is reduce, reuse, recycle. Well, guess what? It goes right along with that. But, if we conscientiously think about reducing what we use, using absolutely what we need, we reuse what we don't need, and we recycle what we can't figure out what else to do with, then we're not sending so many things away. And we have a much better relationship, I think, with the things that we do choose to value. So that's my take.
We like to call it green guilt relief. If you can offer your clients a way to recycle that makes it easy for them. Face it, if they're doing a luxury renovation, they're a high net worth individual, they don't have the time. Let's be the heroes and the champions for recycling for our clients. And let's change the world one kitchen at a time. Let's do it. Right?
I can't think of a better note to end this panel on. Let's change the world one kitchen at a time. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Please keep the conversation going. All the panelists are here. We're available to you as resources and for questions. So please stay in touch. Please talk to each other. And yes, let's make the world a better place. Thank you.